Thanks for joining us today on our JMessenger presentation. My name is Christopher David. We have AJ Duggar with us today, and Jeff Marquette is not here with us, but he did help with the presentation. So to discuss our business problem, our current situation and software that we're using is not SOC compliant. So we need to become compliant, SOC compliant, and to do that, we'll need to maintain a record of all transactions between the developers and the repository. We need to have a secure communication, and we also need to have a system that is easily audited. Now, in order for us to do that, our end product needs to also be easily adopted. JMessenger will need to be a solution that will be streamlined. Will streamline the process of sending and receiving the data from the developers. It'll have a centralized repository to send and receive that data, and we'll have secure backup system to prevent the loss of data. There are risks to doing this project, and so we came up with this risk analysis. And some of the risks are the product actually doesn't meet the client standards in the end, or the end user will choose to not use the end product. Also the risk of scope creep and a possibility of the new system not integrating well with the current hardware. Now, AJ, we'll go ahead and talk about the proposed project.
Thanks, Chris. So like Chris said, my name is AJ Duggar. And our proposed project is the JMessenger program. And what the JMessenger program is a user-friendly program that will bring the company up to that SOC compliance that we're looking for. And so the data will need to be remotely accessible in a secure database that will record every transmission. So we got to keep it secure so we match that SOC compliance. And we've chosen to do the waterfall approach, so a sequential approach. And what we're really looking for is to complete each phase in a timeline, and then we can't move on to that next timeline and that next phase until that initial phase is completed. And so we have 6 phases that we're going to focus on. The first one is the requirement gathering and analysis. So we've got to get all of our requirements. So what we're looking for in our program, our main thing is to be SOC compliant and have that secure database. So we've got to develop those requirements. Then we've got to sit down and then we've got to design our system. We've got to create our charts and our plan, and we've got to design it. And then phase 3 is implementation. So this is when we start coding. This is when we start building the program. We start debugging it, and we have a working product after phase 3. Phase 4 is integration and testing. So this is when we start bringing in a test group of employees, and we have them start testing, making sure that everything is functional. And if it's not functional, we'll go ahead and make some changes, and we'll make it better. And then as soon as testing is done, we'll begin to deploy the system in phase 5. That's when we'll start reaching out to all the employees, and piece by piece we'll start deploying the software. And then phase 6 is the longest one. It's just maintenance, just making sure that the software is functional, and if there's issues, we fix those and we maintain it. All right, and then so to accomplish this, we're going to have a team. We're going to have a team of 6. And that's going to include a project manager, and so his job is just to oversee the development, ensure that that timeline of 6 months is met. We're going to talk about our timelines here in just a little bit. Then we have our lead developer. He's just going to be in charge of our other 2 senior developers. And then we need our database administrators, and so they're just going to be in charge of that database. They're going to design and maintain those servers. And so we felt that a team of 6 efficient team members is going to be enough. Then we can implement it in our time frame of 6 months, and it's going to be the most cost-effective way of doing things. And then I'm just going to pass this right over to Chris, and he's going to talk a little bit about quality management.
Yeah, the development of the JMessenger will be contracted in-house and developed by the programmers that are already working for the company. The project manager and lead developer will be assigned to the quality management team as the head of that team. The purpose of the quality management team is to assure the software meets the company standards of quality and consistency throughout the project development lifecycle. So some of the quality management things and the approach we would use is to ensure that company standards and consistency is not compromised during the development process. And as we do that, we have just a basic outline of the quality control process, which entails the initial assessment of the actual code, peer reviewing the code, testing of the code, and then debugging if needed. And then we get a secondary peer review just to ensure that the process is pretty thorough and we're not having any bugs pass through our quality control. And then if it's a pass result, it moves on and gets published. And if not, then we have a resubmission required. So these steps are repeated based on a resubmission being required, and the published code is monitored by the project manager to ensure the various published codes and stages are consistent with each other. And this really is just to ensure that we're eliminating all potential bugs. So AJ, you want to go ahead and talk about the use case for us?
Yeah, so our use case, this is just what our developers are going to see. So we're talking about our JMessenger program, this repository that's going to keep a diary of all the development work that they're doing, and it's going to do it securely through our database. And so this is just a little overview of what they're going to be able to do inside this program. And so we have our user there on the left, and they're going to be able to do all those things that those lines are pointing to. So they're going to be able to make a file, send a message, they're going to be able to receive a message after they send one. They're going to be able to connect to the database, so they're going to be able to connect remotely as well. So they can connect on-premise, or they can connect remotely. That's a big thing that we do want to accomplish. And then they can open and close a file locally as well. And so it's a pretty simple program. There are others out there, but we feel that this program that we develop in-house, it's going to be simple, and it's going to be easy to use, and it's going to be SOC compliant. So now we're going to talk, Chris is going to talk a little bit about our timelines and go over this Gantt chart with you.
Yeah, thanks, AJ. Yeah, essentially what it comes down to is the phases that we discussed earlier. We have outlined to take up approximately a month each. And so as we go through each one of these phases, we'll have the completion of phase 1 here at the end of January. And then we'll go ahead and use that waterfall approach, go into our next phase, next project. And that will continue all the way through. This picture itself is the first 3 months. And then we would jump down to our phase 4 through 6 to complete the project. And all this material is actually stuff that we've gathered and discussed in the previous slides. But something additionally is the hours that are expected for each week, and so, or for each phase, excuse me. And so as you see, even in phase 4, we have an estimated 1,008 hours expected for our team of 6 developers. And so that concludes our presentation of the data. And so what we really face is like, what's next, right? What's our next steps? What's the next stage to push forward? And so based on the data that's gathered today, we would need management project approval. And then we could also move forward and get a dedicated workspace for the development team and set up that development team, selecting 6 members from the employees. And the actual project itself, for us to be able to code it and implement it, we would need hardware for the servers, so we can get the development process started. And then lastly, in phase 4, we discussed the group of testers that we would need. And this would be just a small group that we would need to test out all of the all the code that we've implemented, and to just make sure that the software is functional in the manner that we need for the company to be successful in their end goal of getting the SOC compliant and secure database repository. So as far as that goes, we have a special thanks to the sites that we were able to do some research on and gather some of the data from. And other than that, we appreciate the time you've spent to join us in this presentation today. And we look forward to working on this project in the future. Take care.